And the mood tracker for Ohio State right now, it's a pretty good time to be a Buckeye fan, even after last week. It's kind of like the rich kid at the carnival. Back in Columbus, where I grew up, well, I grew up in Harris County, just south of us in Columbus, Georgia, not Ohio. You'd have the Greater Columbus Fair every year. So I grew up with a group of kids we would get taken to the fair every year. There was one kid who was a little more well off financially, his family situation, than the rest of us. You got a certain amount of money. And when we go play the basketball games where the rims are extra, extra tight and extra, extra small. And it's really hard. And so most of us, we would just flame out and then we had to step to the side. Well, your rich friend doesn't have to because your rich friend's parents just want to get him out of the house and they've sent him out with no less than 75 or 100 bucks in his pocket to spend at the carnival. And so he just gets to keep shooting and shooting and shooting. And finally, he walks away, with several stuffed animals that really aren't worth the price of admission to begin with, but his self-esteem is buoyed because he eventually made a shot. Well, he doesn't understand he only made it and got all those prizes because he got to keep shooting. Well, on the flip side, it's nice to be able to keep shooting. And that's exactly where Ohio State is in the Big Ten and in the overall landscape of college football right now. They are an A-plus pretty much everywhere. Every category that you have to check, every box you have to check to gauge long-term sustainability, they check them all. So they're going to be there. They're going to be the rich kid at the carnival, and they just get to keep shooting. Now, there is some bad news, okay? The bad news is they just got blown out in a national championship game, 52-24. That wasn't fun. They will not end up winning a title with Justin Fields at quarterback. You could call that a failure if you want to. I mean, they were there. They put themselves in position. They didn't end up winning one. You never know, if you look back on this last game, you never know if you had all your missing starters. You never know what kind of difference it would have made in the game. And so that's kind of a what if, like the old if Colt wouldn't have gotten hurt for Texas in '09. That's always going to be there. And hey, it's a major shot to your pride to take a beat down like that on the biggest stage the sport has to offer. So that's the bad news. The good news is you get unlimited shots. This isn't a situation where you built towards 2020 for like 3 years, and once this heralded senior class departs, oh man, it's going to be a while before we ever get to that spot again. This is Ohio State. So now let's talk about the good news. You're the rich kid. You get to shoot every single time. You get to shoot for the title every single year. Ryan Day is here to stay. Ryan Day had some NFL overtures, and he was very succinct and direct in shooting all that down and saying, I have no interest. I'm going to be at Ohio State. It's very nice to have an elite head coach and to also not ever have to feel like you're fearing him leaving. Number one, because there's not a job more elite than Ohio State. He's not going to leave for another college job. And it doesn't really sound like he's all that into the idea of going to the NFL right now. And he's young. So you got him for a long time. Elite recruiting classes continue to stack on top of each other at Ohio State. So the most precious commodity being a talent roster, you're going to have an A-plus talent roster every year. And they've got an elite culture there. I would cite how they acted even after beating Clemson as Exhibit 1A. And also, they've got very few obstacles during the season. In the Big Ten, who's stepping up? I'm going to talk more about that in a second. So there are zero issues with complacency. It's not like this group has won a national title with Ryan Day as head coach. So you're not have to worry about the complacency. You don't have multiple hurdles to clear every year in the Big Ten. You're going to have the talent. You're going to have the head coach. You just keep shooting every single year. Eventually, they're going to drain one or two or three. I'm not going to go LeBron on you and count off all the future titles, but they're going to be in position every year. And the primary focus, this is what the shift has been like. The primary focus at Ohio State, and for an Ohio State fan, it's no longer Michigan or anything in the Big Ten, really. It's transcended which conference they play in, sort of like it has for Clemson. Clemson's main focus, and this sounded crazy if I told you this in 2001 or 2, Clemson's not worried about Miami or Florida State. They go into every year with their focus the same place Ohio State's focus is now, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. That's where the focus is. It's almost like you've erased the conference boundaries because no one scares you in your own conference. You're competing at a national level, and you're competing the same way as you will on the recruiting trail. It'll be on the football field. You're competing with, it was Clemson, and you just got over that hump. You're competing with the University of Alabama. So that's the mood at Ohio State right now.